Hi everybody, it's Deborah here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about pain and suffering. So it's a big topic and we're just going to come to an understanding of what's the difference between pain and suffering. So you might have heard this saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So what does that really mean? So let's talk about pain first. So pain is basically if you have a physical ailment, like you broke your leg, you have some physical pain, that's pain. And for the most part, that's something you can't deny. So the pain is there, and for a lot of people, we look for solutions to that pain. Sometimes we take medication to help with the pain, and some other people just push through the pain, and so on. So there's different ways to deal with this kind of pain, but this pain is there, and it's inevitable. It's part of our human experience. Now let's talk then about suffering. What is suffering? Suffering sometimes seems to be married to pain. Like let's say if you had a physical ailment and there's pain related to it, and let's say if there was a disease that was in the body and now you have a loss of something. So then that kind of pain can then create what we call suffering. So what creates the suffering in that situation? So the suffering comes from a couple of things, but we can talk in that particular situation. It comes from comparing how you used to be in the past and how you are now and what you want to be in the future. So that's all that's going on in the mind. So one can almost say that most suffering is made up. And it's made up depending on our perception of a situation and also our flexibility to let go of something that happened. For example, if there was pain created from a relationship that was lost, it can be from death, it can be from separation, maybe divorce, whatever the case might have been. If there's that kind of pain that now moves into suffering. So there you have a choice. It's okay to grieve any loss. It's part of the human experience to grieve, but then you have to move on. And some of us don't know when to do that. So then the suffering becomes more and more. And of course, when we are suffering, it's also not that great for our physical body, because when you're suffering, that kind of pain that you're causing for your physical body is now deteriorating your cells and all the parts that hold us together, right? So what can we do? Like, I always believe that there are many things that's going on in our life and in our world around us, and some of it we have control over and some of it we don't. For the things we don't have control over, we have to find out what is it inside of me that I can change so that I can have a different experience of feeling about that thing outside of myself. So that's coming to talking more a little bit about the suffering. So if you're finding yourself in this suffering continuously because of something that happened to you in the past, there's good news for you. The moment you decide, we had a talk about this a couple of weeks ago on YouTube also, everything will change when you decide to change it. Also, some of us don't realize that you can make that decision. Some of us believe that we are stuck in that pain and in that misery and in that suffering. But I would probably say 99% of the time, you are not. But perhaps you didn't know. So now I'm telling you that you can change it. You have the power within you to change your perception about how you're viewing that thing. Let's come back to if it was in a relationship and that person left you for whatever reason, we don't know why, and we don't have to worry about why. We just have to figure out what it created in us, what it triggered in us, okay? So another way of looking at life happening to us, it triggers certain things in us, because we also have we kind of have a belief that if you're in a relationship with someone that they're going to be faithful to you, they're going to stick with you, and of course life is not like that. People do things we don't know why. But let's say you're in this situation. Now maybe 1 year has passed, maybe 6 months have passed, and you're still feeling the pain and you're still suffering from this. So you can do something about that suffering, okay? So you can allow yourself to understand that you have the ability to change your mind. About what? About your attachment to that person, because the only reason you have pain and suffering is because there's attachment, okay? So We can also say that attachment is probably one of the biggest reasons that we have suffering. Okay, that's one thing. We also have the suffering because our mind is constantly taking us between the past and the future, and it's constantly comparing. So between all these things, there's a lot of suffering going on. And what we tend to do with suffering also is a lot of us, we tend to hide it, and we don't bring it forward, we don't allow it to come up and to be kind of resolved. So you're just keeping it in the background all the time, feeding it with these thoughts, these emotions, these feelings, but not really doing anything to change it. So now, when you understand that you have the power to change suffering in your life, you really do, then here are a few things that you can do for that. Number one, some of you might not like this right now, but you are responsible. You are responsible for your life, how you perceive your life, and how you act. So somebody else comes in and they do something that affects you. You have control as to what extent that affects you. So you are responsible. So when you've given them all this power to say, oh, they hurt me, you're giving them the power because they're doing something to you. But if you want to take your power back, then you say, well, I don't know why they left, but this is my life and I'm going to make the best of it for me. So we leave the resentment, we leave the whatever stuff we've got going on in our mind, negative stuff. Okay, blaming them, that's not going to get us anywhere. Perhaps it was their fault. That's not the issue. The issue is that you need to do something that's going to help you to get out of that suffering. Okay, so one of the things, I am responsible. Second thing, if you really want to change anything in your life, you have to form some kind of discipline. So for example, I'll give you an idea in this particular situation. If there was a situation where a relationship didn't work out, you have to have some kind of discipline to do something different to get a different outcome. If you're continuously having these negative thoughts, talking negatively about this person or thing, you're never going to experience something different. It's always going to be like that. Why? Because you are the most powerful person in your life. So how you say things are how they are. So you need to know that you are responsible to then create a change, which can only be done through a discipline. You have to be disciplined enough to say, when those thoughts come up, you got to say, no, that's not true. And you got to let that go. That's the only way you change, right? So just these two things, if you have anything, it can be anything that you're finding that you have pain and suffering about. If you use these two principles, I'm responsible, and creating a discipline, you're going to have already more than a 50% difference in the situation. Positive for you. So, when it comes to pain and suffering, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Why is suffering optional? Because you get to choose. And you get to be powerful enough in your life to say that I can choose something different. I guarantee it to you, the moment you choose something different, that's the moment you're going to have something different. So don't forget, you are the most powerful person in your life. If you want to create any change, I am responsible. So then I have to create a discipline so that I can create the change. Very simple recipe, okay? I hope you enjoyed that. It's always my honor and my privilege to be with you. If you want to be posted about all my new YouTubes, click the link below. And I think right now we are 94 subscribers. We're looking for 100. So share with your friends and family. And we'll see you next time.